how easy it is to get overwhelmed by outside noise and outside perspective and maybe get confused about what it is you want and how it is you're going to decide if you want something, and how we kind of go to other people and ask for permission and reassurance and acceptance and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. What do you think? But really, it's what do I think and what do I want? Welcome to the Blue Rose Podcast. I'm your host, Becca Blue Rose, a runner, storyteller, and believer in creating a life that feels like your own. Some weeks it's just you and me, and other weeks I'm joined by women who are chasing their own version of a bold, unapologetic life. Together we explore what it really means to take risks and trust your own path. Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. Today we're just jumping straight in. Have you ever been so excited about something that it just overwhelms you? We're going to talk about that today because I want to talk about decision making and how sometimes the noise, the outside noise of other people and just the world that we live in, can just lead to overwhelm and honestly to the point that you're just like, what am I even doing? And is this what I want? And you ask yourself a million questions and you just have no idea the answer. And so to give you some context, I heard about this race called the Transcontinental Race, and it was in Europe, and you bike all the way from Norway to Greece. It's like a 4,000-kilometer race. In order to finish it, you would have to bike at least 150 miles a day. And so, I applied for this race. I had no business applying for this race. They wanted my ride with GPS. They wanted to know what I would do if I got bit by a dog. And in all of this, I got accepted to the race. And when I signed up, I really was like, I want an adventure challenge. I want something hard. I want something new. I want something that I really have to figure out and learn and don't know a lot about. I think where I was at when I was applying, right, it was the end of the year, and I was like, I need a Masogi. If you have not listened to my episode with the calendar, 100% go listen to it. But basically, every year I decide to do one year-defining thing, one really big thing that feels like there's maybe a 50% chance that I'm going to fail. And I didn't know what I wanted that to be. And so because I didn't know what that was going to be yet, I felt like I was kind of searching for the thing. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to apply for this race. I probably won't even get in. And so I applied for this race. I get in. And then at the time that I got in, I think I was so grounded in my decision that I was like, I want to run 100 miles this year. I do not have time for this. Maybe it's not aligned. Maybe it's just not what I want to do, right? And then a few weeks go by and the deadline to actually secure my spot is coming. And I watched one of the podcasts I did. So I was doing a bike packing series, and I watched one of the episodes that I did, and this girl mentioned it. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? I should totally do this race. And so then I went down this week-long rabbit hole of watching the videos, getting so excited. I was like, I'm going to do this race. I even talked to my boss about it. I was kind of like, is this even a possibility? And I was just overwhelmed to the point of making myself sick with how excited I was. I reached out to people that had done it before and I said, hey, I'm doing this race. Can you help me? What are your tips? But I was also kind of asking myself, why do I want to do this? What is my purpose with it this year? And my word for this year is patience, because I have a really hard time not doing things that excite me. And it's not a bad thing. But this year I'm really trying to learn how to be patient and realize that I don't have to do everything all at once. And so in this moment, I was like, this feels brave. It feels bold. It feels impressive. It feels exciting. It feels scary. It feels challenging. It feels adventurous. It feels like everything I wanted it to be was this race. I was like, oh my God, this is the thing. Like, this is my year defining thing. This is going to be awesome. And so I had all this curiosity and I was really following it. And I kind of felt like I had already said yes. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And to give you like more perspective, I would have had to find a bike. I would have had to buy all the gear. I've only been bike packing once in my life. Like there's so much I would have to learn between now and July. But overall, I was like, is this what I want to spend my year doing? And I felt like in the last week of January, it was all consuming because I was like, I already told these people that I was going to do it. I already asked questions. I've been so excited about it. I've been thinking about it. I've been going down the rabbit hole. And so all of this curiosity kind of just turned into this like obligation where I was like, people are excited for me, and backing out means something about me. Maybe I'm not getting outside of my comfort zone in the way that I should. And the fact that I've told a bunch of people about this and said I was debating it, and then to then go back on that and be like, actually, I decided that I'm not going to do that, felt really hard and really scary. And honestly, I felt kind of like embarrassed and a little ashamed to be like, oh, I don't know if I really wanna do this. And so then I found this other one, and it was 1,200 kilometers through Spain, and it was all women. And so then I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign. Like, maybe me figuring out about this transcontinental race was like a sign that I really wanted to do a bike race, shorter, like, women's race. Like, I'm still doing something hard and scary and adventurous and all the things, but it's not the big one, and it's only 8 to 10 days versus 18 days, and so maybe I can make that happen, but that's in May. So then I have even less time to figure out all the stuff that I need to figure out in order to do this. And I feel like I was trying to convince myself that, like, well, I had to do something bike related because of how excited it made me, and I had to do it now. Fast forward, I took a weekend away with no service. I didn't have anyone to answer to. I really paid attention to how I thought and how my body felt and how I was feeling. And I feel like my decision making process really slowed down because what's the hardest thing about making decisions is that the internet has so many answers and ideas for me. And so I can go on Instagram and I can look up bike packers all day long, and I can look up their experiences with the Transcontinental Race. I can message them and I can be like, what was the hardest part for you? What are you scared of? I'm scared of the stray dogs, and I'm scared of sleeping alone at night by myself. Like, I can ask them to give me clarity, and I can ask them to give me reassurance, and I can go on YouTube and I can watch 100 videos on the Transcontinental, and it can make me so excited. And someone else's energy just like kind of like seeps into me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I can do this. I took a weekend away, and before I went on the trip, I had to decide about the big race because the deadline was while I was gone and I didn't have service. So I had to decide. So before I left, I did decide not to do the big race. But then I was like, well, if I get into the shorter one in Spain, I'm 100% going to do that one. Fast forward, I'm away for this weekend. I'm cold plunging and going into hot springs and sauning and reading and just being with myself and with my thoughts. And I feel like I realigned to what my real goals were this year and to like what my true self wanted, and not just the excitement of seeing all these people accomplish these incredible things on social media and on YouTube. And there's so much information out there, and sometimes it is so hard to discern and to gain clarity about what you want. And sometimes thinking harder just makes you more stressed out. Like, I can't even explain to you how stressed out I felt about making this decision and kind of how disappointed I felt in myself. But really, that decision came from like hearing less and seeing less and taking less in and being able to sit with myself and accept what I wanted. And I think sometimes it's really hard to accept what we want because we know what we want, but we feel like we should want something else. And so, because I felt like I wanted this big, grandiose adventure and this thing that scared me and challenged me, I was like, well, that's what I want. So why do I not want this bike race thing? But even I got home and I got the email that I got into the all women's race, and I felt so clear on being like, actually, I'm good. I don't really want to do that right now. And that felt really good and really eye-opening to be like, oh, like, this is just not what I want to do right now. But then realizing that, like, it is maybe something that I want to do. Like, I would encourage people to not ignore excitement, but I feel like you kind of have to align your excitement. Just because it excites me doesn't mean I have to do it right now. And that is what I'm trying to learn, is that there's always things that I'm adding to my bucket list, but it doesn't mean that it has to happen the second I find out about it. That race will be there next year. And if I want to do it next year, I can apply. And noticing that like internal shift and allowing myself to be like, I can wait and it will still be just as awesome. And another question to ask is like, yeah, like, why am I doing this? And I think a lot of the reason that I felt like, oh, I'm going to do this was because I was like, that's crazy. And that would be so cool. And people would think I was so cool for doing that. And that is not a good reason to do things. Like, we all have a little bit of ego and we all want to be seen and like appreciated in all the things. We're only human. But I was like, that is not a good enough why for biking across Europe and sitting on my bike for that many hours a day. Like, you better have a bigger why than that, my friend. So, in all of this, I noticed one, how much pressure humans can put on themselves once they've like made a decision, or I don't even know if I made a decision, right? Like, I think we just put all this pressure on ourselves to do things perfectly or to figure it out. Or if we like say we're going to do something and then we don't, we kind of feel like, well, I'm going back on my word and like, what are these people going to say? But to be honest with you, the people I asked probably won't even remember that I was planning to do this race. Like, they probably aren't really going to think twice about it because guess what? They're thinking about themselves. And it also just made me notice how much the people around us really do influence us. Like, I talked to like 5 bike packers in a row, and I was ready to change my entire identity from trail runner to ultra cyclist. And that is crazy. Like, I spent 5 episodes talking to people. And granted, it sounds so cool. And I'm like, I want to do that one day. But it again, it doesn't mean I have to do it today, and so I felt like I understood, like, that pressure I was putting on myself, and then I understood, like, "Oh my god, this is something that's exciting me, and I should pay attention to that." But again, doesn't mean that it has to happen all at once. Like, I feel like on this podcast, I try to be like, "If not now, when?" And, like, don't wait to make these things happen. And I do think that there is something to that. I think that there is no good time for anything. And I think that, yes, you have to plan it to make it happen. And I think that if not now, when? Like, I truly do believe that. But I also think that there is a discernment in deciding, like, okay, but like, which big thing am I going to do this year? And it doesn't have to be everything. Like, in what ways do I want to get out of my comfort zone? In what ways do I want to challenge myself? What big, exciting adventure is making me feel the most excited and the most passionate, but also maybe the most grounded? I think something that I have learned personally about myself is while excitement is really important, so is also like being grounded in my decision. And I find that if I make a decision and I don't feel grounded in it, then maybe it's not the right decision. Or I find that if I have a really hard time making a decision and it's not a hell yes immediately, then that is my signal to be like, okay, maybe this isn't what I want to do immediately, but it doesn't mean I have to throw it away off the list. And so just kind of looking to see, okay, what is that hell yes? And maybe stepping towards that one and then being like, this other one could be a hell yes in another year or so. And that is also okay. I think sometimes I even say, like, yeah, if not now, when? And then there's all this pressure to be like, okay, well, I have to do everything now and I have to get it done. Um, but there also is value in patience and planning. I'm reminded constantly that like the process and the planning is the fun part and it's the exciting part. And so if I don't feel like I'm in a good mental headspace or physical space to be able to take on a challenge like this right now, then why am I forcing myself to do that? And I can still be someone that likes to do big, hard, challenging things, but I can choose when, how, where I want to do them. What I really wanted to bring to light in this episode is just how easy it is to get overwhelmed by outside noise and outside perspective and maybe get confused about what it is you want and how it is you're going to decide if you want something, and how we kind of go to other people and ask for permission and reassurance and acceptance and be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. What do you think? But really, it's what do I think and what do I want? And just because you've told someone you're going to do it, just because you've mentioned it once or twice, does not mean that you're beholden to doing that. And just recognizing that you have to sit with yourself and your thoughts and make decisions based on your feelings and your emotions. And sometimes if you're struggling to decide and if you're indecisive, it might mean that there's too much noise around you and you need to take a beat. You need to take some time for yourself and to really sit with asking yourself, what do I want? And what am I trying to get out of this? And what is the purpose of this? And where do I want this to go? And you don't have to know the answers to all of them. But I think we all know what it feels like to feel really grounded and aligned in a decision and in a process that we are choosing to embark on. All right, guys, that is my food for thought this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope that you take some time to be out of service, to be off your phone, to be off devices, go out in nature, and just really sit and listen to yourself this week. Thanks for listening to the Blue Rose Podcast. If you love this episode, please hit follow, leave a review, or send it to a friend who's building their own bold life. Keep trusting yourself, and I'll see you next week.